Hey guys, this is Mike with the Restless Nomads, and I wanted to talk a little bit about choosing the right RV for you. If you're making the decision to get a camper or a motorhome or whatever, you have to think about several different things, and you have to think about whether or not you're going to be full timing or part timing or so many factors. And I'll tell you a little bit our experience. Our first RV was a 30-foot motorhome, a 1997 Winnebago Adventurer. We loved it. It was great. We loved everything about it. I mean, the floor plan was wonderful. It had no slide outs, so no maintenance, no worries there. Uh, we really liked almost everything about it. The only thing that I didn't like about it, and this is a big one, it drove like crap. It was what you call a wobble wagon. And going down the road, there was so much free play in the steering wheel, and it just bounced left and right, and it seemed to sway all over the road, and it was just nerve-wracking. So I drove it from Eugene to Mackenzie Bridge, about 55 miles. We got there, and I was sweating bullets so bad that I said, okay, that's it. This is where we're staying. And we did. We stayed there for 6 years. And I took it dry camping a few times, maybe 1 or 2 miles. It was nerve-wracking every time. And then we drove it from that place back into Eugene and then over the pass to the Deschutes National Forest where we hosted Lava Lake. And I had Angie in a car tailing me, basically, and we drove very slow, and it was just a very uncomfortable experience. I mean, driving that thing was really uncomfortable. And I have a CDL. I drove big rigs, and driving a tractor trailer was more comfortable than driving that thing. So there was something about it that just felt unsafe. And the tires were too small. The chassis was brought way in underneath the body. And I guess that is very common for that time period. Motorhomes, especially gas motorhomes, made in the late 90s, have a tendency to wobble, and that's why the dealers called them wobble wagons. So the point is that you need to find something that you're comfortable driving, and you need to find something that you're going to feel safe in if you're ever going to drive anywhere, because otherwise you'll do what I did the first time around. You'll drive that puppy 55 miles and you'll say, whew, let's stop this train and get off of it, let's park it, and then you'll be stuck somewhere for a long, long time. And even if that's not your intention, your intention is to travel and have a lot of fun, but you're too scared to drive it, so you end up stuck somewhere, or stuck somewhere longer than you really want to be, just because you have anxiety about driving that vehicle. Another thing is, especially if you're traveling with a partner. So we went from the 30-foot motorhome, and when we started talking about, what do we want next? And there was this huge size negotiation between Angie and me. Angie would have a 40-foot fifth wheel if she could. I would have a minivan camper if I could. Because, well, I think there's some different factors there. She likes the livability of a 40-foot fifth wheel. I like the drivability of a minivan. So there is some negotiation that needs to happen there. How can we come to a good middle point between that driving a minivan and towing the 40-foot fifth wheel? What ended up happening for us is we settled on a 24-foot trailer. And that was kind of in the middle, So she wanted the 40-foot fifth wheel. I wanted the I kept pointing out the camper vans and saying, "Oh, that looks so fun! Let's get a E250 camper van." And obviously that was just not enough living space for her. So 24-foot trailer. We settled on that, and we looked at Class C's as well, and the shorter the better for me when it comes to driving, and the longer the better for her when it comes to living. So another thing that you have to think about when it comes to the size is, if you're towing, you have to make sure that whatever truck you have or whatever truck you intend to purchase is going to be able to tow that vehicle. Don't trust the dealers; they're going to lie to you. And I even noticed that I crunched all the numbers and I wrote them all down. And when we were going out and buying a truck before we had a trailer, I knew what kind of trailer that I wanted to pull. And so I walked in there and I could compare the towing capacity, the GVWR, the GCCW, all of those numbers I could compare. And knowing your wheel base ratio and everything, axle ratio, I could compare those with what exactly I wanted to pull. So that's important. You need to know your numbers, because the dealers are going to say, "Oh yeah, Ford F-150s pull this all the time." Well, if you get a Ford F-150 Limited, then they can't tow hardly anything. It really just, don't expect to buy a Ford F-150 and then pull a 40-foot fifth wheel. That's unrealistic. So do your research. Make sure that you have the proper truck for what you're towing. And another thing that we kind of did too, because we considered getting an F-250 and F-350, but we said, let's just go ahead and kind of limit ourselves a little bit anyway. Let's get the Ford F-150. That way we don't get extravagant with our trailer, because we didn't want to get too big. We wanted to be able to fit into places. We didn't want to spend an arm and a leg on fuel. We didn't want to spend the maintenance that diesels require. So we went ahead and bought our truck first. We bought the 2014 Ford F-150, and it's a 3.5 EcoBoost. And I think the towing, even though this number is almost insignificant, the tow rating is 9,600 pounds. But when you factor in payload and tongue weight and everything else, that number is almost insignificant. So another big factor when you're considering, what truck and trailer combo to get is fuel. We bought the gas, lower in maintenance cost for sure, but the fuel economy is going to be less. And the way that we intend to travel is we're going to pull, park someplace for 2 weeks, and then go to the next place. And we'll be doing that every 2 weeks or so. So we're not going to be on the road constantly, and I just don't see it justifying a diesel vehicle and all the maintenance costs that come with a diesel vehicle. Not to mention, diesels are more expensive anyway. Alright, here's something interesting to talk about. Used versus new. You can buy a brand new trailer or motorhome. Motorhome, man, good luck to you. They are expensive if you buy them new. They depreciate quickly. We bought our travel trailer this year in the worst possible market. I mean, it's totally a seller's market. So we spent a lot of money on our travel trailer. It's a 2004 Fleetwood Prowler, and we probably could have got it for thousands of dollars less even 2 years ago. But we don't want to wait, so we went ahead and spent the money. I don't know if I would even recommend buying new. I mean, there's some perks. You get the warranty. I know there's issues with getting things under warranty covered and so forth. A lot of the stuff when you buy them new, they need to be shaken down. They've got to go on the road so many miles in order to really work out all the kinks. Used trailers sometimes, some of those kinks are worked out. The bottom line is any trailer you get or any motorhome you get, if it's an RV, it will take revisional maintenance. It's just the way it is. You're going to have to fix stuff on it. And that's kind of the bottom line with RVs. There's no RV out there that is just absolutely solidly built and requires no maintenance or no upkeep. So here was an idea that we had when it came to how we were going to do this. Obtaining RV financing, especially if you intend on full timing, is a challenge. There are lots of, credit unions and banks and stuff like that. If you intend on part timing and you're going to keep your house and those kinds of things, they will more likely lend money to you. But if you intend on going full time in an RV, very few banks want to finance you. There are maybe 2 or 3 that might. But our decision was, we kind of based on that, man, it's so hard to get RV financing, and we don't want to pay the interest rates that come along with that. So let's pay cash for the trailer. And we did. We paid cash for our trailer. We don't owe anything on it. It's ours. And then we'll finance the truck, because an automobile loan is so much easier to get. So that's how we did it, and how it kind of got set up in our finances. The truck was $30,000, and we paid $13,000 for the trailer. So we paid cash for the trailer, and we financed the truck. If you can pay cash for both, then even better. But in our situation, that was kind of how we did it. We had to pick and choose what we were going to finance and what we were going to pay cash for. Which brings an interesting factor to this equation. It was almost one of the driving factors why we ended up going towable. We couldn't do that with like a Class C or a Class A. Any motorized RV, you would have to, you can't separate the two. So automobile financing, easy to find. RV financing, especially for full-time, difficult to find. And then, which brings another interesting factor, like insurance. We paid cash for our previous motorhome, the 1997 Winnebago Adventurer. And that was cool. I mean, we didn't have any payments or anything like that. But it was more expensive to insure that than it is on our current insurance plan, which has the truck and the trailer. They're separate entities, so that if we put the trailer somewhere and we take off with the truck and a tree falls on the trailer, it's still covered. But it's cheaper by, I think, like $300 every 6 months or something like that. So, towables are a little bit cheaper in that regard. And if you're looking, if you can afford a truck payment and pay cash for a trailer, that might be the way to go. But anyway, yeah, there's some considerations, negotiation with your partner and finally coming to a conclusion on what's going to work for you financially and livability wise. For us, it was the 24-foot travel trailer that we finally settled on. Doesn't have exactly everything that we wanted. We really liked the walk-around queen bed in our motorhome. We didn't get that in this one. We have a corner bed. So that was a sacrifice, but I think it'll be well worth it in regards to fuel costs. Pulling a 24-foot, 7,000-pound travel trailer versus a 15,000-pound motorhome, gas goes a little further. And then we can even go places that we were unable to before. And also some of that driving anxiety is relaxed a little bit because we're not quite so long. So, just some food for thought if you're thinking about buying an RV. And I think that point about financing an automobile versus an RV, that was one of our major driving decisions. That's what drove our decision to go with the travel trailer. All right, guys, thanks for watching. This is The Restless Nomads. I'm Mike. We'll talk to you later.